Today, I have the pleasure of introducing this incredible millennial to you. He is an artist, an author, and an entrepreneur. Please help me welcome Dario CiVon.
Ciagara, salsa mulata. Ay, mamita, caminando. Dale un poquito para acá.
First of all, I am just too excited about your book. I started reading that book and I fell out. I think every concerned elder should read that book. And if you read the book, you'll know what I'm talking about. It is probably the best book that I've read where a young person explains to an old person what the hell is going on. Tell us the title of the book.
It's called I'm Not Moving Out, I'm Not Getting a Job, Screw You, a Millennial Field Guide. And basically I wrote it to kind of bridge the gap between millennials and Gen Z and their parents. Because I found in my life, and I'm 26 now, there was just so many layers to my life that my parents just had no idea about. And so I wanted to kind of compile everything that I felt about the internet, social media, video games, marijuana, and kind of put it into
pornography.
I try to package that in a way that will kind of bring families together and help parents understand their kids and also provide an optimistic viewpoint on millennials, because we get so much flack in the media, and a lot of the reactions to my book are people saying, wow, this is someone who's making a case for our strengths. Because I do think there's a lot to like about millennials.
So let's talk about some of the weaknesses that older people see. What are the things you hear about millennials that elders
So
kind of bitch and complain about?
Right. Well, they hear we're too sensitive. They hear that we don't want to work hard. Some people say that we're not good at writing and we're not as analytical, which I totally disagree with. And then obviously a big thing is that we're always on our phones and we're not present, and we don't live in the real world, so to speak. There's definitely elements of truth in all of that, but I actually personally think that social media is a revolutionary technology. And I really mean that. If you're responsible with it, that's the key. It's very addicting. It's almost too good at connecting people with interesting ideas. So, but I don't think having access to too many interesting ideas is a bad thing.
I don't either. I think it's balance.
Yeah, it's all about balance.
And I think the internet is probably the greatest thing that's ever happened to society. You know, like anything, there's good and there's bad. It's what you make of it.
Also, it's just too new. Like, the internet just hit maturity, like 10 years ago maybe, which happened to be right in the middle of millennials' childhood. It was about 8th or 9th grade for us. So I still remember some kid coming up to me and being like, have you heard of YouTube? And I'm like, no, what the hell is that? But look what YouTube has become. It's become like this unbelievable platform where there's all sorts of intellectual discussions and political debates that are outside of the mainstream media, which people don't believe in as much anymore. For all the bad things, there's 10 pounds of good things. So I just try to point that out in my book. I had one person say that this book made them feel good to be a millennial for once. So that was really touching to me.
One of the things that I loved, when you open it up, you start just rattling off everything about millennials, and then you start going into some of the terminology. The first one I came upon was life hack, because it took me a long time to figure out what a hack was. And I was watching a lot of webinars, and I was like, yeah, I still don't get it. I don't get it. So I loved how you broke, I mean, I finally got it.
Got it.
But I loved how you broke it down. First of all, your writing is fantastic. You are so fluid with your writing.
Oh, thanks.
And it's so concise and it's clear, and I can follow you. I never get lost. I never kind of go, oh, what the hell is this kid talking about? I loved what you had to say. I loved how you presented your case. And I do think it's a great book to help older people kind of navigate through what younger people are going through, because it is a different generation. You know, you guys grew up on the internet. A lot of older people still don't know how to turn on their smartphone. I also love how you take us through the internet gurus right now.
Yeah, that's a big deal for us. Like,
Yeah.
I talk about influencers.
Well, I loved it.
That's
I loved how you went from Gary Vee, who I love and follow, watch on YouTube all the time with his cursing self. I loved Ty Lopez and how you bring in how his whole thing is books.
Yeah.
You know, and I also follow him.
She's with it.
And,
She's ahead of it.
and I love how you threw in Joe Rogan. You're consuming everything through the internet. So everything that's available to you, you're just sharing.
And it affects us.
It does.
Yeah.
And now I think one of the greatest things that a lot of older people are missing out on is that a lot of e-commerce is happening on the internet. You know, shopping is not happening in brick and mortar stores. It's happening on through the internet. Thanks to Amazon, they put a lot of stores out of business because people can just buy it online. You can set up your stores. I also love that I'm telling you, this kid is so lazy. About a year ago, he started a online store on his website to promote his art. And so he did it with clothing and different pieces. And his art is phenomenal. We're talking about his book that you can get online on Amazon. Is it a hard book? Because I got mine on Kindle, but is it also a hard copy? That
no, it's a soft cover.
Okay.
It's not a long book. I didn't want it to be a really long book.
Okay, but it's a physical book.
It's a physical book.
Okay,
yeah.
so it's a great
Yes.
book. Whether you have Kindle or you do it on your iPad or whatever, you should get this book, especially if you're over 40. Get the book. You young people should get the book too, so that you can know what your parents' complaint is about you, so you know how to defend yourself, because he does a fantastic job defending millennials in this book. And I thought you made some great points, and where you broke down the whole marijuana thing. So
Yeah.
tell us about the way to have marijuana.
I have a very methodical take on marijuana. Weed is really strong. Like, it's too good to just mess around with it. This is coming from someone who loves toking up on occasion. And basically, I think you should use it very intentionally and almost like a personal kind of meditation, or like a personal therapy session is what I say in the book. So my preferred method, or let's just say the way that I get the most out of it, is I do it alone. I make sure that I have 5 or 6 hours where I don't have anything to do. I use a vaporizer because it's not good for your lungs to smoke harshly. And then you just kind of go on like a mental journey with yourself. When you do it this way and not in a social environment, you'll find that all sorts of things that are bugging you or things that are kind of lurking right under the surface will just instantly jump out at you. So I like to write things down or make audio notes and really be methodical about it. I don't think smoking every single day is a good idea. I don't think doing it 24/7, obviously, or with a huge group of people that you don't know. I don't think that's the way to get the most out of it. So yeah, I do it alone or with like maybe 1 or 2 of my closest friends, and we really kind of like, you go deep on yourself. So that's what I think it's best used for, because again, it's too strong and it's only getting stronger.
A millennial take on getting high.
Side note, smoke and then lift weights. It's fun. It's a trip. That is a trippy experience. Yeah.
Be careful, people. You might hurt yourself. I don't know if that's a good idea, but okay.
Actually, I have a really funny story. Okay, so I was probably 22 and I took an edible and I had all this homework to do. But the message that was coming up was, bro, you need to stretch. You're tight right now. You just feel tight. So I went and I stretched, and I was like practically doing the splits, and I'm not particularly flexible. Like I did this crazy yoga session. The next morning, I stood up out of bed, and I was like, oh, like I could hardly move. It was crazy. So you do have to be a little careful.
Yeah, you gotta be careful when you get high, because it tells you things that aren't necessarily true.
Hey, I got more flexible though, but
for a minute,
for a day or two.
That's hilarious. Let's talk about social media, because you talk about it in the book, and you also do a lot of Snapchatting, where you talk about your art.
Basically, my take on social media is a little bit different than the one that everyone hears, which is that it's destroying our brains, and it's like so addictive. We won't be able to think anymore, and blah blah blah. And there is some truth to that. I've definitely been hooked on social media at times. So my personal rule is I like to have 3 things that I do during the day, like 3 goals. And so my rule is I don't log on to social media until I've done 2 of the 3. So basically like my lunch break. And then maybe 10 minutes, not too much, because your brain can get used to just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and that's not good. It's hard to kind of like bring back in the focus after you do that. So then I do my 3rd thing, and then at night I don't really put a rule on myself, because I think there's something to be said for not putting strict barriers on things. 'Cause when you do that, then there's a part of you that tends to crave it or like fixate
right, if
on
it's
it.
restricted, then
Right.
you
So
want to rebel.
Exactly. So I try to be pretty loose with it, but I found that if I get two big things done, then I kind of want to get that 3rd thing done. So the whole idea is get some momentum in your day before you log on to social media.
All of a sudden I heard Gary Vee.
I'm a big fan of Gary Vee.
He talks about your goals and having stuff that you have to do and doing your grind, working that machine. So where did you get that three goal
3
rule?
thing per day.
Yes.
I think I got that from Ty Lopez.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said if you can get 3 things done per day, big things, then you're doing well. And then he believes in rewarding yourself. So do 3 things, and then the 4th thing of the day should be reward, because you don't know how long you're going to live. So that's what he says.
I love it. Something that you can't have from the internet is relationships. I mean, you can meet, you can talk to people, but it's not the same as me talking to you. So as a millennial, how do you encourage millennials to spend time to get to know people as opposed to speaking to them by smartphone or computer? What do you do that is not connected with technology or the internet or a smartphone to start to have relationships with people?
Well, I have like a little performance / art gallery spot that I go to every week, and so that there's always new people coming in there. Basically, go out of your house and meet people. But there's another cool thing that I just went to 2 weeks ago, and it was actually an influencer that I follow named Daniel DiPiazza, and he has a bunch of followers. And he just said, like, on one Saturday, let's just meet at a beach, because he wanted to weed out the true followers. So he's like, at 6:30 in the morning, rain or shine, let's meet at Venice Beach and just kind of sit in a circle and just kind of talk and stuff. So I thought that was a really good example of...
Did you do it?
I did. I went, yeah.
Oh, lovely.
And I got to meet him. And then now when I DM him, we have a much stronger basis, because he knows who I really am, because we got that feel for each other in real life. So I think that's the way to do it, is meet people online, and then if they live close, say like, hey, let's get together. And a lot of people don't do that second
Use
step.
it as a starting point.
It's a starting point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about college, because you had an interesting experience with college, and I think a lot of times people have a rough time with college, with the whole concept of college. And
yeah, so that was one of the big reasons for writing my book, is that college is a ridiculously complicated time of your life, and it's ridiculously expensive. So a lot of people, including myself, make wrong turns, and it costs you so much. And debt is not good, because you can never get rid of your college debt. A huge part of my book was giving people giving families a sort of an outline or a set of guidelines for how they should tiptoe into the college experience, because you really don't know when you're 18 or 19 who you're going to be and what you're really going to care about when you're 23 and 24. Like, I noticed that in every single one of my friends, we are night and day different people. So my kind of framework is, before you enter college, decide, do you want to learn hard skills, that like a trade that you can get a job at and make money at? Or do you want college to be more about exploring the humanities and broadening yourself? So that's a fundamental dividing line. Pick one of those two, and then supplement. Try to get the other through the internet, because you can. And really, you could almost get all of it through the internet if you really wanted to. But there's something to be said for encountering professors and talking with other people.
And being mentored.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I think you should go to college for 1 year and see how it goes. And that might be enough to kind of understand what type of person you are. Because that was a big part of my experience. Was I went to a certain kind of high school, very academic, and I was always the artsy one of all of these academically focused people. But then I went to a regular college. I went to Chapman for a year. I was the smart kid. So that was really interesting to me. So I had to learn what kind of person I am. And I learned that I'm kind of a balance of art and science.